For new fans in Formula 1, Daniel Ricciardo is that guy who won a Grand Prix in 2021, got demolished by Lando in 2022, then made a miraculous comeback with AlphaTauri in 2023. But older fans will have witnessed firsthand the skill level that Aussie used to have in a Formula 1 car, where he was actually able to beat his teammates and hold on to a high value seat on the Formula 1 grid for many years. Ricciardo was born in the land down under in 1989 in the isolated city of Perth. He started karting at the age of 9 and had a big breakthrough in his motorsport career after finishing 6th in the 2007 Formula Renault 2 Italia, which resulted in his selection into the Red Bull Junior team. Ricciardo proved his selection by winning 2 junior series, the first being the 2008 Formula Renault West European Cup and the second being the 2009 Formula 3 Championship. He came runner-up in the 2010 Formula Renault 3.5 series to Michael Alishin.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Well, he's yet another Russian disappointment. But on the 30th of June 2011, Ricciardo got his first opportunity in Formula 1 with HRT, a Formula 1 giant, and replacing India's greatest racing talent, Narain Karthikeyan. And you may ask, was Ricciardo ready for Formula 1? Well, if Narain had a seat, I'd say he was more than ready. And unfortunately for the remaining 11 races, he spent the majority of his time at the back of the grid. And on the 14th of December 2011, it was announced Ricciardo would have a chance at Toro Rosso for the 2012 season, partnering fellow Red Bull Junior opponent Jean-Eric Vergne. And in their first season together, Ricciardo would lose out to Vergne, with the Frenchman scoring 16 points to Ricciardo's 10, even though Ricciardo outqualified him 15 times to 5. So unfortunately, the Aussie was already on the back foot in the battle to keep his place at the sister team, as Red Bull are notoriously known for their brutal approach when it came to their young drivers. But in 2013, he carried his qualifying form into the races and beat Vergne in 2013 by scoring 20 points to his 13, once again dominating his teammate in qualifying. And when the news came that Mark Webber would be retiring from Formula 1, this left a vacant seat at Red Bull. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko didn't look further than Ricciardo, and he would have the nightmare job of trying to beat his teammate, the back-to-back 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. Daniel ended up spending 5 seasons at Red Bull, and there are 2 seasons that come to mind when it comes to Daniel Ricciardo's prime in F1, 2014 and 2018, with 2014 being his first season with Red Bull and 2018 his last. 2018 was one with so much hope at the beginning, when it actually seemed Ricciardo was going to challenge for the championship for the first time, winning 2 of the opening 6 races, with one of his overtaking masterclasses at China.
Ricciardo goes for it from a long way back. Here we go. Bottas covers it off, but he can't cover it off totally. Ricciardo somehow finds a gap there. And watching Formula 1, magnificent effort. Comes from so far back and keeps such great car control. He has earned this victory today as Daniel Ricciardo.
And then a famous redemption victory at Monaco, the best and most dominant win of his career. But Red Bull's reliability would shoot down any hope of winning the championship that year, as Ricciardo would not finish 6 of the remaining 15 races, and he would actually end up losing to his teammate. But that's the guy about to become a triple world champion. So that leaves 2014. In my opinion, this was Ricciardo's prime. His first season with the big boys, and also going up against Sebastian Vettel. We would find out for 2014 that Red Bull didn't have the fastest car on the grid. Mercedes had produced one of the great F1 cars as they nailed the new regulations. Even more surprising than that was that Ricciardo's new teammate really struggled when he was knocked out of qualifying in Q2, and surely it would be the same story for Ricciardo. But no, the Australian outrageously put his car on the front row.
But the home fans are now willing this man on. Daniel Ricciardo, they'll be cheering from Perth all the way to Melbourne and all points in between. As round the final turn he comes, and his first qualifying for Red Bull. Can he get that car anywhere near the front row? Where's Ricciardo? He's on pole by 4/100ths of a second, and Melbourne is going wild. It's like Australia's won the Ashes again.
But wait for Hamilton.
Here's Hamilton now. Can England snatch something back in Australia? Yes, they can! By 0.3 of a second, and there's an eruption from the crowd once more.
Behind Lewis Hamilton, and it seemed like the dream start, finishing second in his home race. But we would find out later that he was disqualified due to illegal fuel flow throughout the race. Not the first time Red Bull have been caught cheating. I'm only joking, Red Bull fans. Please don't come for me.
I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
But Ricciardo's time would come. Qualifying 6th in Canada, it looked like it would be another decent points haul for the Aussie. But something was in the air on that hot day in Montreal. It was one of Ricciardo's famous overtaking masterclasses, helped with a Lewis Hamilton DNF, which resulted in Rosberg finishing the race cautiously. And Ricciardo took full advantage and took the lead for the first time on the 68th lap, and he became a Formula 1 winner.
Daniel Ricciardo on the top step of the podium for the first time in Formula 1.
He then had 2 more wins in Hungary and Belgium, winning from 4th and 5th respectively. And there were a few noises on the paddock that he might be in contention for the title. Only 35 points behind second place Hamilton and 64 points behind the championship leader Nico Rosberg. Unfortunately, it wouldn't materialise, but the biggest talking point about his season was the fact that he had just stuffed his 4-time world champion teammate, beating Vettel by a staggering 71 points. Maybe Vettel wasn't at his best, but still, to do this in your first season with Red Bull, it almost seems like Daniel peaked too soon, and he just joined Red Bull at a bad time, with 2015, 16 and 17 cars being Red Bull's worst since winning their 4 championships. And with the introduction of the best talent of the decade, Max Verstappen, in 2016, Red Bull shifted their focus on to Verstappen, which was the main reason for his move to Renault, and the eventual situation where he was left without a seat in Formula 1. Well, until another Dutchman decided to actually help him with his career, and he's back in the Red Bull family once again. And it's a shame he had to leave it in the first place, because with Red Bull's current rocket ships, if he had stayed and not lost his confidence and not picked up such bad traits as Christian Horner said he had, he could have been a world champion. But 2014 Ricciardo, for me, was the best we saw of the Aussie in Formula 1. His style of driving was great to watch and made a lot of people, including myself, fall in love with him and the sport. And I do believe that he had the talent to win a world championship. But do you agree with me?